So to place ourselves again in the context, remember that Mr. Bloom entered the hospital and now he's sharing some time with the nurse, and then he will meet all the other medical students together with Stephen. Yes. So as her eyes then got his wits sore, therefore sorrow she feared. This is the nurse. You remember Nurse Callan.
Yes.
She was the one who brought the boy to the world, Bloom's boy, the one who died. Glad after she was that ere a dread was, her he asked, look at the complete change of order in the sentence, no? Because he's imitating another style here, no? Her he asked, instead of saying he asked her, if her doctor, her doctor tidings sent from far coast, and she with grateful sigh him answered that her doctor in heaven was. So this doctor had died. Sad was the man that were to hear that him, this is, I mean, the complete change of order. Sad was the man that were to hear that him so heavied in bowels ruthful, because apparently Dr. O'Hare died of something connected with his stomach. Yes, that's why bowels are mentioned here.
May I ask if that order is grammatically correct also in English or not?
Well, no, I mean, today you wouldn't write something like this, but all the same,
This
it was used.
medieval, no?
It is, yes,
It's like
it is
medieval.
medieval English. In medieval English, you can have that, and later on, Milton also used many inversion of order, simply with the purpose of emphasizing some word. Because if you said sad was the man, instead of saying the man was sad, you give emphasis to sad because you start with that word.
Yes, but it seems to me like a question sentence.
Claro, the order could be the order of a question, but this is not the point. It is not.
It's like in Spanish, no? This organization, in
Yes.
all the Spanish, we can say sad of the man, or
Yes, because in
or
fact,
bless of the woman.
Sí, exacto. Because all this part is using Latinized style. Remember that Bloom started with the very beginning of literature, yes? I remember the first paragraph with all those words that we couldn't even say, like of pre-medieval, yes? And now he's going to the Latinized style of medieval times. That's why the order can also be used in Spanish, because, sí,
Yes.
triste era aquel que caminaba, instead
Exactly.
of, ¿sí? That is the idea. So all she there told him, instead of saying she told him all, no? Ruin death for friends so young, all gates all unwilling, God's right wiseness to wit say. She said that he had a fair sweet death through God, his goodness with mass priest to be shriven, holy housel and sick men's oil to his limbs. The man then right earnest asked the nun of which death the dead man was died. And the nun answered him and said that he was died in Mona Island through belly crab 3 years agone, ¿sí? Belly crab, como si fuera un, ¿cómo se llama? No me sale el
Dolor de
nombre.
panza,
Sí,
sí,
pero
un calambre.
crab es cangrejo, no me salía. Como si fuera un cangrejo en la panza, ¿sí? Belly crab. 3 years agone. Then this is very, very...
Instead of ago, agone.
Yes,
isn't it?
exactly, agone. And 3 years ago come Childermas, and she prayed to God, the all-ruthful, to have his dear soul in his undeathliness. He heard her sad words, inhaled hat, sad staring. Remember that he was having his hat in his hand, no, as a sign of respect for the nurse. And so that's why it says inhaled hat, sad staring, no? So stood they were both a while in one hope sorrowing one with the other. Therefore, every man, look to that last end, that is thy death, and the dust that grippeth on every man that is born of woman. For as he came naked forth from his mother's womb, so naked shall he went him at the last for to go as he came. This paragraph is a paragraph that Gabriela and Vanessa may remember from the time when they were my students, because this is very similar to Everyman, a medieval play. I don't know if you
Yes.
remember.
Yes,
This is a very interesting play that I used to teach because it is called Everyman. That's the name of the play. Of course, anonymous author. It's a medieval play. And the idea was that everyman is the character, but everyman is all of us, no? And everyman is told by death that he's going to die. And so everyman says, no, I don't want to die, no? And so the play takes, is the way in which everyman, all of us, tries to avoid the coming of death. But of course, nobody can. So that's why it says here, therefore, every man, no, all of us, they are talking about the doctor who died, look to that last end, because the idea of every man of the play was a kind of morality play, because it teaches the audience that death is near for everybody, no? So look to that last end, that is death, thy death, your death, and the dust that grippeth on every man that is born of woman. See, we go to the dust, we go we disappear. For as he came naked forth from his mother womb, yes, every man, all of us are born naked without anything, shall he wend him at the last for to go as he came. So we are born with nothing and we will die with nothing, because in the play, every man wants to find help in his possessions. He says that he is rich and that he can buy more time, but of course, death is not interested. Then he looks for his friends, and his friends say, no, we don't go with you. And then his relatives, and they say, no, we are not going with you. So finally, he's alone, and he has to face death alone. Yes,
with his good deeds, alone with his good deeds.
You are right, Gabriela. The only thing that accompanies every man to death in the play, yes, that we are talking about, is his good deeds, the good things he has done in life, right? So this paragraph is not exactly taken from Everyman, but very similar, yes? So this is a kind of reflection that Bloom has in connection with the death of the doctor, because that doctor was young, apparently, and he died unexpectedly, no? The man that was come into the house then spoke to the nursing woman, and he asked, this man is Bloom, no? And he asked her how it fared with the woman that lay there in childbed. Remember that Bloom had gone to this hospital to have some news about Mrs. Puberfoy, yes, the poor woman. The nursing woman, sí, estaba hacía horas, días estaba ahí.
3 days, I think. It said,
sí,
yes.
3 days.
Like
No,
3 days.
Es terrible, es terrible.
Imagine.
No, horrible. The nursing woman answered him and said that woman was in throes, now full 3 days. So in throes, estaba en trabajo de parto, ¿sí? Now full 3 days. And that it would be a hard birth, see, I imagine, and next to bear, but that now in a little it would be. So apparently now she's near, no? She said there too that she had seen many births of women, but never was none so hard as what that woman's birth. Then she set it all forth to him, for because she knew the man that time who was lived nigh that house. Remember that this nurse used to live near Bloom's previous house. You remember the house that he always remembers because it was the house where he lived when Molly and him had a good marriage, no? The man hearkened to her words, for he felt with wonder women's woe in the travel that they have of motherhood. Yes, all the travel, all the work, no? Travel is, viene del latín de trabajo, see, all the work that they have of motherhood.
Inés is a French word.
Yes,
Trabajo.
trabajo is, claro, that's why it comes from Latin too. They have of motherhood. And he wondered to look on her face that was a fair face for any man to see, but yet was she left after long years a handmaid. So the nurse, who apparently is nice, is beautiful, has a fair face, but she hasn't married. 9-12 blood flows chiding her childless. Yes, so she has been 9 years working at this place, helping other women to bring their children to the world, but she is childless. She's single. And whilst they spake, the door of the castle was opened. So see how instead of talking about the hospital, we are talking about the castle, because this is a medieval situation, and Mr. Bloom is like a knight, yes, a knight who comes to see about the poor lady, yes. So whilst they spake, the door of the castle was opened, and there nigh them a mickle noise, as of many that sat there at meat. Yes, so the other knights, yes, these are the medical students, are having a dinner nearby, yes. And there came against the place as they stood a young learning knight. Here we have a learning knight. He's a medical student. Yclept Dixon. And the traveler Leopold, look at this, no? So we have a medieval castle, the hospital, some knights, learning knights, students who are inside having dinner, and Leopold Bloom is now a traveler who comes to the castle. The word traveler fits him because he has been walking practically all day. He has been walking Dublin all day.
Right.
So the traveler Leopold was caused to him, sithen it had happened that they had had ado each with other in the house of Misericord, where this learning knight lay by cause the traveler. By cause the traveler Leopold. So this very complex way of saying things, very medieval, yes, is because the traveler, Leopold, Mr. Bloom, enters the place and he wants to know what has happened, that this is the house of Misericord. This is the hospital, the name of the hospital, where this learning knight lay by cause the traveler Leopold came there to be healed. I don't know if you remember that we saw this episode some chapters before. Remember that this chapter is a kind of recopilation of all the other previous chapters. You remember that we read about Bloom having been bitten by a bee.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when he was, that happened, he went to hospital to be helped because he suffered a great pain because of the bee. I sent you all the information in the, again, just in case you have forgotten. So he went to this place, and who was the doctor? This Dixon. Yes. So when he sees Dixon, he says that was the learning knight that had helped the traveler Leopold when he came there to be healed. The word that is used, see, healed, which is correct, curado, but at the same time is a very medieval word. Yes, vino a ser curado, for he was sore wounded in his breast by a spear. ¿Sí? En vez del aguijón de la abeja, acá se lo compara que también está bien, spear, ¿sí? Una lanza. He in his
Yes.
breast by a spear, where with a horrible and dreadful dragon, the dragon was the bee, claro, was smitten him, for which he did do make a salve of volatile salt and chrism as much as he might suffice. So, in fact, Mr. Bloom was rather scandalous about his wound, no? Because he went, claro. Imagínate, lo pica una abeja y sale corriendo al hospital. Wow. So, para él fue una tragedia. And this tragedy is depicted here as a medieval battle. Yes, he was hit by a dragon. And he said now that he should go into that castle for to make merry with them that were there. So now he's going to enter the room where all the students, the medical students are eating, to make merry with them, yes, to enjoy some time with them. Again, the expression to make merry is very medieval too, no? And the traveler Leopold said that he should go other whither, for he was a man of hotels and a subtile. So he doesn't want to interrupt, so he wants to leave. Also, the lady was of his abyss and reprieved the learning knight, though she trowed well that the traveler had said thing that was false for his subtlety. So the lady is the nurse, yes, said that, okay, she trowed well, she understood well that the traveler was there, that he was not, below the doctors. It was false for his subtlety. So you are okay, you are not, yes, you are not, you can come here, you are welcome here. But the learning knight would not here say any, nor do her mandmen nay have him in odd contrarios to his list, and he said how it was a marvelous castle. So this is a very everyday conversation, yes, among the nurse, Bloom, and the doctor, but described in very medieval terms, no, full of Latinized vocabulary. And the traveler Leopold went into the castle for to rest him for a space, being sore of limb after many marches environing in divers lands and sometime venery. So this is very funny because he's described as a traveler who he's sore of limb, le dolían las piernas. De tanto caminar. Many marches environing in diverse lands. See, in lands, he has been everywhere, yes? And in that castle was set a board that was of the birch wood of Finland. This is simply a table. See, a board that was of the birch wood of Finland. So, la mesa hecha de madera de Finlandia, es una mesa. And it was upheld by 4 dwarfmen of that country, but they durst not move more for enchantment. So this is so funny. So the table is described, probably it had some, it says dwarfmen, no? Some sculptures, let's say, made in wood at the legs, no? You know what I mean?
Legs, yes.
Carved, ¿no?
Yes.
Decorada. Entonces acá dice que esos dwarfmen, esos enanos de Finland, they are not more for enchantment. So they were there because they were magically there, no? And on this board were frightful swords and knives. Swords and knives, these are the cutlery, the Norman cutlery, that are made in a great cavern by swinging demons out of white flames, that they then in the horns of buffaloes and stags that were abound marvelously. So the decoration of the table was fantastic. And there were vessels that are wrought by magic of Mahound, out of sea sand and the air by a warlock with his breath that he blazes into them like two bubbles. So this table is described as if it were the which table? Which table are we talking about?
The round table?
Yes,
The table of King Arthur.
exactly, described as King Arthur's table, no? Because all these medical students are the knights, and Leopold is the traveler, no? And full, fair, cheer, and rich was on the board. When you remember the Arthur's stories, and the knights get together, there is always a description of food on the table, food and
Like a
drink.
feast.
A feast.
No, they're making merry. They are celebrating something.
Exactly. So everything is full of, I mean, food, etc. And in medieval descriptions, food is always described, and they pay a lot of attention to this, because this is a sign of richness, wealth.
Yeah.
No? Okay. And so here we are going to get the same. Sorry. Okay. And full, fair, cheer, and rich was on that board, that no wight could devise a fuller nor richer. So no podía haber nada más así lleno de comida. And there was a vat of silver. Esto me da mucha risa. A vat of silver that was moved by craft to open, in the which lay strange fishes, withouten heads. ¿Qué es un vat of silver?
Un vampiro de plata.
No, it's not a
No,
bad.
vampiro no. ¿Qué?
No, porque es vat
Something
con
like a
V.
Murciélago, pero vat.
Something
Vat
like a
of-
tray.
Claro, es como un recipiente, claro, como una bandeja, como dice Gabriela, que acá dice of silver, de plata, pero en realidad es simplemente la lata de sardinas. There was a vat of silver that was moved by craft to open, ¿sí? Tenían que utilizar un elemento para abrirla, in the which lay, en la cual había strange fishes without heads. Los fishes without heads son las sardinas.
Claro.
Es una lata de sardinas, pero lo describen como una bandeja de plata, yo qué sé. Though misbelieving men need that this be possible thing. So they cannot believe, no? Fish without heads. Without they see, nonetheless they are so, no? So nonetheless, a pesar de todo, they are so. And these fishes lie in an oily water. You see? Claro. Brought there from Portugal land, because of the fatness that therein is like to the juices of the olive press. So it was a sardine, the sardines brought from Portugal.
With olive oil.
Claro. And also it was a marvel to see in that castle how by magic they make a compost out of fecund wheat kidneys, out of chaldi. ¿Qué es wheat kidneys? I sent you es simplemente malta, la malta, los granos de malta. Entonces, ¿qué es este compost que hicieron? Es cerveza.
Make beer.
Claro. Entonces, mágicamente, sí, hicieron a compost out of fecal wheat kidneys, out of chaldi, that by aid of certain angry spirits that they do into it swells up. See? So some angry spirits made de la malta, ¿sí? Swell up, o sea, se hace cerveza, ¿no? Por los espíritus, angry spirits, wondrously like to a vast mountain. And they teach the serpents there to entwine themselves up on long sticks out of the ground. And of the scales of these serpents, they brew out a brewage like to mead. O sea, de eso preparaban, ¿sí? La cerveza. But here, this process is described by serpents and spirits, you know, magically. And the learning knight let pour for child Leopold a draught, see? And had there to the while all they that were there drank every each. So the students are drinking beer. and eating sardines, okay? But Child Leopold did up his beaver for to
This is
play.
not the, this is not anymore the traveler. Now is a child.
Claro, a child leopard, because he's like a young knight, no? And so, why is he described like this here? Because you remember that Mr. Bloom doesn't drink.
Ah, yeah.
And now when they give him the beer, look at what he did up his beaver. Beaver is la copa, sí, sí, la copa, for to pleasure him. And so he put up his glass to do the honors to the student, and took upwardly somewhat in amity, for he never drank no manner of mead, which he then put by, and anon full privately he voided, see, vació, look at the word, this is again a Latin word, no? Voided the more part in his neighbor's glass. So Mr. Bloom simply drink a little, yes, to be, I mean, to be polite, but then he poured the rest of his beer in his neighbor's glass. And his neighbor needs not of this wine, so the other one didn't realize. And he sat down in that castle with them for to rest him there a while. Thanked be Almighty God. Again, a very typical medieval expression, no? This meanwhile, this good sister, remember the nurse, stood by the door and begged them at the reverence of Jesus, our older liege lord, to leave their wassailing, for there was above one quick with child. So the nurse goes to the door and tells them, okay, somebody comes because a woman is going to give birth. A gentle dame whose time he'd fast. So the gentle dame is most probably Mrs. Purefoy, no? Sir Leopold heard on the up floor cry on high, los gritos de la pobre mujer. And he wondered what cry that it was, whether of child or woman, and I marvel, said he, that it be not come or now. So the nurse has come to look for the doctors, yes? And at the same time, Mr. Bloom hears the cry. He doesn't know if it is a woman or a child, but obviously it must be the woman. Missing endures overlong. And he was ware and saw a franklin that hied Lenehan on that side of the table that was older than any of the other, and well, a franklin. Here, one of the doctors, the one who is older, most probably one who is not a student, is mentioned as a franklin. You remember in medieval literature, the franklins appear. They are kind of employees, official employees. That is a franklin. And so that's why this doctor is called a franklin, probably because he was a doctor already.
The Franklin's Tale, right?
¿Cómo van?
The Franklin's Tale, was there a Franklin's Tale in the Canterbury Tales or not?
In the Canterbury Tales, one of the characters is a Franklin. Exactly. He's like an empleado del Estado, una cosa así, yes? So the Franklin in the Canterbury Tales is a very obscene character. You remember? Yes.
Yeah.
So he saw a Franklin that hied Lenehan. You remember Lenehan from previous chapters, no? On that side, the table was older than any of the others. So that's why I imagine this is a doctor. And for that, they both were knights virtues in the one emprise, and eke by cause that he was elder, he spoke to him full gently. But, said he, or it be too long, she will bring forth by God his bounty, and have joy of her chiding, for she had waited marvelous long. So the doctor says, okay, now the woman will have joy because she has waited marvelously long, no? And the Franklin that had drunken said, the problem here is that all these students and the doctor were drinking. So this is not the perfect state to go and help a woman in birth. No? And the Franklin that had drunken said, expecting each moment to be her next. This is again, this phrase, expecting each moment to be her next, is taken from Lenehan before, when he said that all of them were sad, you remember, because of Dignan's death, because they were all expecting to be the next. All the men gathered there were all sad because they were all expecting to be the next to die. Also,
is waiting for death.
claro, y acá la transforma en que, bueno, la mujer está esperando el próximo minuto. We have less than a minute, so we meet again at 4:45, okay?
4:45.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
also he took the cup that stood for him, needed never none asking nor desiring of him to drink. And now drink, said he, fully delectably, and he quaffed as far as he might to their both health, for he was a passing good man of his lustiness. So